to Behind the Grind, an entrepreneur think tank where we sit down with entrepreneurs and high-performing individuals to talk about their journey. I'm sitting here with my co-host, Tucker Massey.
Hey everyone. So as always, Behind the Grind is sponsored by Long Hollow Creatives, a boutique co-working and co-op studio space located at 700 North Gillimard Street. So today we have the pleasure of having Shannon Pallin on, the owner of Fiore, which is a full-service florist and boutique, located at 405 South K Street. How are you doing, Shannon?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic.
I want to say thank you for taking the time to come join us.
No problem.
Yeah, so a little background on Shannon before she starts talking about herself is she has 25 plus years of comprehensive experience in the wedding industry, which is a whole lot of experience. Fiore has been seen in Southern Living, Weddings Unveiled, Style Me Pretty, and many more, Extreme Makeover Home Edition as well. So Shannon, how about you give us a little background on yourself?
Okay, well thanks for having me. I appreciate it. I have been in the flower business for a little while. I started when I was literally in high school. I started working at a florist, and I didn't know that was the path I was going to take, but it was the path I did take, and I held a few other jobs. I didn't just start out. I mean, I really was like a sponge. I really went to work for several different designers, but in the meantime, I also worked at the vet, and I also was a server and rode my bike to work, and kind of a little bit of hustle at a very young age.
Bunch of side hustles, that's awesome.
A lot of side hustles.
Yeah.
I'm still doing the side hustle. I feel like.
I think everyone is, if you're in this lifestyle.
Where did you begin?
In San Diego.
San Diego, okay.
Yes, in San Diego. I was living there part-time here, but mostly...
Part-time cross-country?
Yeah.
Going back and
My
forth?
parents sort of, one was in San Diego, one was here.
Gotcha.
So, if there had been frequent flyer miles as a kid, I'd probably
Yeah.
fly free forever. But, so I just started literally with my family's friends, and I worked at a really high-end upscale florist, but I wasn't to the level of design that I could design there.
Right.
And because they were so high volume, they weren't really teaching. And so I kind of just went out on my own, and I still had my two other jobs, so I wasn't completely afraid.
Right.
It wasn't my only income, but
which is nice to have a little extra cushion when you're
when
on
you're
that
starting
level.
out.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think also at the time I was pretty fearless.
Yeah.
And didn't know a lot about failure, so I wasn't terribly afraid.
Nice. What were some of your first failures, and how did you overcome them? Sort of in the entrepreneurship
well,
realm.
let me just tell you that this was pre-cell phone, so failures are maybe if you have the wrong time or the wrong church where the flowers might go. There's no way to communicate other than
no Apple
a
Maps.
payphone and a phone book.
Man.
Yeah.
So those were lessons that were learned very early on about kind of really going through all the details more than once.
Yeah.
And communication, organization.
How old were you when you got going, when you opened up your first shop?
Well, I didn't have a shop. I worked out of my house.
Okay.
So I was 19.
And was that in Pensacola
I
or
was
was
in
that
San Diego.
San Diego?
Yeah, I started
Gotcha.
in San Diego.
Okay.
When you moved to Pensacola, did you see a market for flowers, that sort of
Absolutely.
boutique, or was there a market here already that were
There
what
was.
you doing?
There's definitely a market here, but by the time I moved here, I had done extensive design work in San Diego and New York City. So it was a little edgier design than what was currently happening. So I wasn't like I was coming in to do the same thing. I was coming in to do something different.
Right.
Let's dive a little deeper into pre-Pensacola.
Let's talk about New York.
Yeah.
San Diego.
Oh yeah, well New York was New York was what I considered school for me. So
Okay.
I did not finish college in San Diego. I kind of took my business and ran with it, and I literally just told my dad, I'm wasting your money, this isn't for me. He wasn't told about it, but
Yeah.
um,
Let's see that.
you know, at the time everyone was preconditioned to go to college, and
Right.
I just wasn't. And so
Entrepreneurship definitely wasn't as big then as it is now.
no. And it wasn't cool to be a florist. It wasn't a job. I mean,
Really?
now it is.
Yeah,
Now
for
everybody
sure.
wants to be one. Anyway, I moved to New York City with $1,000 and stayed on, a friend of mine that's from here, he lives there, and stayed on his couch. I gave myself a month to find a job, and I did.
What was your first job?
Well, the first job was at a small florist on the Upper East Side, which wasn't where I wanted to be. It was just a job. And so it just took a little while. I went into the Carlisle Hotel one day, and they had a flower shop in-house, and I introduced myself to the manager, and she needed help, and she hired me the next day, and she's still one of my best friends today.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so, and just starting at the Carlisle is iconic. And
Yeah.
then we did all the flowers at the plaza.
It's a huge
Huge.
job.
It was big. I was a little bit green, wasn't familiar with New York City. I was straight up California girl in this city.
Have you been to New York previous to moving there?
One time,
Okay.
1 year before, with the same friend of mine.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I remember being there and thinking, okay, this is larger than life. It's the saying, if you can make it there, you can make it anywhere.
Right.
And I really felt that. I felt that if I didn't try that, I wouldn't be at my top level.
Yeah.
And I lived there for 4 years, and the companies that I worked for and the people that I worked for and the things that I did were truly one of a kind. You can't ask for that. It just happened. But I worked really hard.
Yeah. What was your most memorable experience in New York? Could be, flower related,
Well, there were
or it could
several-
be personal.
Well, there's a lot.
Yeah.
We don't have enough time.
Yeah. Give me a short.
The short
one.
version. Traveling with like Martha Stewart's team.
Really?
That was pretty fabulous.
How'd you get
There
that
was no
introduction?
budget, so that was great.
Yeah, I could see that.
I mean, when you don't have a budget, the sky's the limit, and you're getting paid to be super creative with all of your resources. It's just it's like freedom. And I would say that was one of them. I mean, there were several things. Some of my friends that I have to this day that I met in the business are friendships that were built because I feel like we almost grew up together. When you move to New York City, you have a lot of like learning and growing to do, and the people that you're with in that time, you've bonded with them.
Right.
So
For sure. That's crazy.
it was pretty cool.
How did you get in front of Martha Stewart? How did that? Is that just with your
Well,
job?
there was like a little band of us designers, and we would freelance, and so
Right.
we would go from Martha Stewart to Preston Bailey to Katie Brown, and once we all sort of started referring one another, one of us would get a job somewhere and then be like, oh, I've got these other great designers, and these big jobs, when we're doing $1 million worth of flowers, they need people.
Right.
And so we started to just recommend one another, and my friend Nico de Swert, who's a fabulous Belgian floral designer, he started working at Martha Stewart, became the styling editor of the magazine, and then he just started hiring me freelance to come in and help him, and that's where we got to have a lot of fun, because we did a little bit of traveling.
Yeah, I can see
And a
that.
lot of creating, and it was for the magazine, and for the Kmart ads, and for the show.
That's awesome. So what was the first thing, once you left New York, left San Diego, came to Pensacola, what was your first job here? Was it opening up your own business, or was it?
No, my very first job here was at Floral Tree Gardens.
Okay.
My friends, the Pearsons, hired me, and they were like, why do you want to work here? You just came from New York City. But I couldn't decide really if I wanted to go more into landscape design or if I wanted to do more floral design or both, because I do both. And,
Yeah.
I've studied both. So I started there because I needed a job. And then I got a job at Dove for Garden and Home with Quinn and Jim, and they were instrumental in letting me kind of form a flower business.
That's huge.
We didn't have the right space to do it in, so eventually we had to go separate ways, because if I was gonna do that, I needed workspace, I needed a team, I needed lights and water, things,
Right.
minimal things that maybe the warehouse I was in didn't have. So I started, I was at Dove for 2 years, but again, great, amazing friendships, and they were just starting, super creative people, and I think somehow I find those people.
Yeah, it's awesome to be surrounded by those types of people.
Yeah.
Definitely helps
Yeah.
escalate the
Sure.
level that you're at, for
Yeah.
sure.
What was your mindset moving down here? Did
I
you
was
come to-
actually really ready to leave New York City. It was
Okay.
a very fast-paced life.
I could see that.
In the event business, you work some very different long hours, and so in New York City, it's just expounded on, because you get home when the sun comes up and you go back to work, and you're like, oh wait, I didn't sleep. Especially because at the end of an event, you have to take everything down, and in New York, things don't stop.
City doesn't sleep.
City that doesn't sleep, yes, I didn't sleep for 4 years, so I was
Jeez.
ready to sleep.
Okay. A little slower pace,
A
Pensacola.
little slower
Yep.
pace. My mom was like, can you please settle down? In so many levels.
Yeah.
And I was 30. And so I was kind of ready.
Yeah.
And a lot of my friends started moving back here and starting their careers and families here. So it was just kind of the right time.
So back then, Pensacola wasn't really, I say back then, but it wasn't that long ago. Pensacola's never really been the place where people have wanted to stay and open up their own business. But, nowadays, people are
It's been a
staying
huge
after
change.
college. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so when you came back to Pensacola, were there people here that were starting up their businesses, or was everyone still leaving?
Everyone was still leaving.
Really?
Everyone that was younger was, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I was 30 when I came back, so a lot of my friends started to come back and had gone off to school and had, jobs in big cities, and
Right.
were starting to come back because it's a beautiful, affordable place to live.
It is, for sure.
Yeah.
So coming back, you knew you were wanting to open up your own.
I didn't really know exactly. I didn't have an exact plan.
Yeah.
But it didn't take me long to figure it out.
Okay.
It took me, 2 years, 3 years at the most to say, okay, there wasn't anyone that was doing floral design on the level that I had experienced.
Right.
So
So you saw what you could
I
build here.
definitely
You're
found
exploiting the
Yeah.
need and
the
market.
niche of designing differently.
Just badass
Gotcha.
flowers, let's be honest.
Yeah.
A little more of a personal question.
Yeah.
When you were in New York, did you become a Yankees fan?
No,
I
Did you
did.
say
Stop.
yes? You did.
Stop.
I totally
I-
did.
Well, quiet
Yeah.
high five right there.
I went to like 2 games.
I'm done.
That's all it takes.
Let's,
But I'm
That's all
kind
it
of like
takes.
for whomever's winning in all sports. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not.
She's a Yankees fan.
I was an
so-
athlete, but I'm not like, oh, I follow this one team.
Right.
I'm kind of like,
yeah.
whomever's playing well, they should win.
Jimmy wants to get off this
Yeah.
topic.
Next. So, back in Pensacola,
Mhm.
where are we at?
Back in Pensacola, Pensacola wasn't really a place where people stayed. Did you start out of your house, or did you?
I did.
You did.
I did start out of my house. Yeah, I started out of my garage.
How long did that last?
That lasted about a year. Trying to even think about where I went
Yeah.
first. Oh yeah, I remember now. Okay. I actually just moved out of my warehouse. So family and friends of ours just had some warehouse space downtown in DeVillers,
Yeah.
and then nobody was down there.
No, not like they are today.
No, DeVillers and Intendencia, and they were kind of in shock. They're like, but it's a warehouse with a roll-up door. I'm like, yeah, that's what I want. And no one could quite envision the fact that I was going to take this like a storage unit with a roll-up door and make it into something cool, but we did. And I started there, and we just grassroots, organically, slowly grew. Nothing overnight.
Right.
Nothing.
Which a lot of people want.
Well, that's a sure way to failure.
Yeah.
If you don't, you
Patience
have
is
to
the key.
assess everything and make changes, and it's hard to have it all at once. So
For sure.
we just made small steps forward. We've moved a few times, which I've always thought was going to hinder us, that people would lose. Oh, they moved again, where'd they go? But it's gotten better every time, and our business has grown every time. So,
Why do you think that is?
I think because we put out a good product.
Yeah.
And I have great relationships with my clients.
So we just
They
keep coming
appreciate
back.
us, yeah,
Yeah.
and a lot of trust. I mean, my clients trust me a lot.
That's huge. Definitely in the service industry for sure.
Absolutely. What was the most difficult part about building Fiore from scratch?
Oh, learning how to read numbers
Yeah.
when you're not a numbers gal.
You know, I can 100% relate to that.
I had a
100%.
really fabulous accountant for 10 years that held my hand,
Yeah.
and took about 10 years
Yeah.
for me to understand the numbers, but
We're there.
I also know that I'm just gonna stay good at what I do well at.
Right.
And
And delegate.
there's an accountant
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
also does numbers.
Yeah.
But knowing your business, and in the back of my mind, even though I don't look at numbers every day, I have an idea of what's happening.
Yeah.
There's a few other people that know what's happening, so I check in with them, but, I've got very kind of delegated positions to where I depend on this person to do this one job and this person, and then I come in and I can meld them all together and
Right.
keep it going. But
You said you focus on what you do best. What expand on that?
selling, designing,
Selling.
yeah.
Double down on what you're good at.
Yes, like I can sit in a consultation because I know my product so well, and I already know what the vision is because I can create it in my head. And there are a lot of people that aren't visual,
Right.
come in and they show me a couple of things. I think they feel very secure in the fact that I've got their vision, and that they don't have to worry about what it's all gonna look like in the
Yeah.
day of their wedding or the day of their event, because I do sketches and I kinda have fun in our meetings and try to keep it lighthearted, because a lot of my clients, it's a stressful situation. I mean, weddings and funerals, and so I take that burden off of them, that they have to know exactly what it's gonna look like, or I don't understand how this works together, and I'm like, well, you don't have to, that's what I do.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And I jokingly tell them I can't add,
Mhm.
so if they can add, they
Well,
can do that.
You know, I think seeing the vision, you know, I'm terrible at numbers, but I'm great at seeing a vision and seeing of where I want things to go or how things are going to be built. And I think it's either one or the other. In most
I
cases,
don't know,
I
some
feel
people are
like.
gifted with both.
I wish I was.
Was that was that something that you knew that you were talented about, or you had talent in from the get-go, or was that like a learned?
I think both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Did you grow up creative outside
Yes.
of flowers?
Yes. In my family, majority of my family, my mother's side and my dad's side, are all very creative people.
Okay.
So I think it was just in me.
Yeah.
And then literally sitting in class, it just wasn't for me. And
Was anyone else in your family like that?
I think a lot of them.
Who are entrepreneurs or starting
Oh
their own
yes,
business?
a lot of my cousins, they're all,
Awesome.
Yeah, and I wanna say that none of us were really great students, to be honest, but, I mean, I have a cousin in Norway that's opened up 22, I think, taco restaurants right now.
Oh wow.
And one that just has got his PhD, and, he didn't particularly like school, and my brother and his wife own a restaurant, and so, I think we all, just took us a little while to get there.
Right. 100%. What's your favorite thing to do in your free time? Besides,
Not in the holiday season because there's no free time.
Go really just chill at the beach.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I'm not in Pensacola, I'm in San Diego.
yeah,
So I try to go once a year, and really and truly, like, my favorite place, the La Jolla Beach and Tennis Club. It's super bougie, but it's fabulous.
it's hard to be bougie sometimes.
I mean, I just am like, yes, please, I'm gonna put my flag up. Yes,
Yeah.
I'll have another glass of wine.
Have you ever thought about expanding to San Diego, like opening up another Fiore there?
No, I don't want. A lot of people say that to me often, or New Orleans, or I think I just want to master one thing well.
Yeah,
It's
I
awesome.
can definitely agree with that for sure. What's the next
And I have
question?
kids, so
Yeah, that can be hard.
it's definitely it is challenging to be
Yeah.
a mom and to run a business that runs on these odd hours. It's
Badass businesswoman.
not
Is
9
that-
to 5. It's 9 to whenever we finish.
Right. Yeah.
Weekends.
Every weekend,
Yeah.
just about.
Is that something that you struggle with, having to, work after hours, come in on the days that you're not supposed to be there, you have other people working?
No, I'm like right now I work 7 days a week.
Yeah. You love
but
every second of it?
I love every second of it. I also know that business slows down in January, so right now I'm responsible for 10 people's livelihood
Right.
and their salaries, and so when the business is there, I'm gonna do it. And I don't really turn people away very often. The only time I do is if literally I cannot do it, but if I can do it, I will make it happen.
Yeah.
What's one thing you've learned in life throughout this journey that you wish you were able to go back to and tell your younger self?
Oh goodness.
One thing.
One thing. Oh, one thing.
There could be a couple things. Drop some knowledge.
Should have gotten some more sleep.
Yeah.
More sleep, yeah, that's huge.
I don't know. Okay, I know. Well, learn your numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah, take a business class even though you don't understand it, or the accounting class, don't drop it. If you have the drive to be in business, learn more about business. That's
Okay.
for sure. One thing that I took a long time for me to learn, and it finally clicked one day, and I was like, oh yeah, it all makes sense. But it took a long time for that.
Yeah. I need to learn some numbers.
You do.
Yeah. What's one book you're currently reading, or a podcast that you're listening to? Do you have any favorites?
No,
Or
none of the above.
None of the above.
I work like 14-hour days,
yeah.
and then I go home and I'm a mom, and I go to bed. I don't currently read anything at all.
Really?
No,
Is there anything that you do to?
that's terrible, but
Yeah,
it's the truth.
I know it's
Truth
each
is more
their own.
important.
Yeah.
I mean, we used to read.
Is there anywhere that you reach for inspiration, whether it be like a florist in New York?
Oh,
Or
definitely.
What are some big inspirations for you?
Well, there's so many great designers. I find that every time I go somewhere, and I get into the industry there, like if I travel for work, that I feel very secure in what I'm doing because kind of still got it
Mm-hmm.
sort of thing. Like it just reinforces that you know what you're doing. But I love going to New York and visiting.
Short periods of time.
Window displays, the no budgets in New York City, that inspires me.
To get to that level.
Well, I mean, that's a different ballgame, but
Yeah.
just to see like Saks Fifth Avenue's windows at Christmas and all the props, and like just being like a prop person, and we tell a story kind of with props and atmosphere,
Yeah.
creating atmosphere. So anyone that I can see doing that, those are very inspirational to me. Mostly in New York City, I would say.
Yeah.
Transition really quickly, kind of similar to inspirational, but you know, doing a little bit of research and finding out accolades and awards, everything that you've won, Fiores have won.
There's a lot of them.
You know, you go into the shop and there's, you know, In Weekly, Best of the Coast,
Wedding Wire.
but we were talking before we got going today that those don't mean as much to you as your wall full of thank you cards.
Yes. I do appreciate the awards because
Yes.
I do like, you know, being acknowledged for the hard work that you've done and the good product that you put out. So I keep all those. I'm not so much one to advertise them.
Okay.
I'm very much behind the scenes in a lot of different ways, to where I don't like to take a lot of surplus just compliments, and to me, because I think it comes naturally, it's just a given.
Yeah.
So I have a hard time taking compliments for that. But the thank you notes, I get a lot of them, handwritten, very thought out. Very rarely do I get one that just says, "Love Erica." I mean, it'll have a whole, you know, very beautifully written letter. So I keep those.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Those
and I
are
put them on the wall in my
Yeah.
consultation room as a reminder. If I'm working late and I'm like, you know, on my 12th hour and I'm still doing flower orders and trying to come up with the concept for the design we're doing in 2 weeks, it's a good reminder of why I'm there.
Do you think that you're like that because you're introverted in a sense and you don't want to, because I'm super introverted and I don't like, you know, throwing myself out there and trying to like get myself acknowledged or anything like that.
I don't know that I'm introverted.
I'm going to say no.
You guys know each other.
I'm gonna say no. I remember making a decision as a teenager that I was going to put myself out there no matter what. No, I think it's kind of like not taking the glory for the hard work sort of thing. Like,
Gotcha.
I don't need to be reminded. I just want to keep my business going, and I do appreciate the awards, and I don't really solicit for them.
Yeah.
Sometimes I don't know they're happening.
Right.
And then we win something and it's awesome, and it means the community knows that I'm working hard. So I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Well, I want to say thank you again
Yeah.
for taking your time, especially during the
Yeah,
onslaught.
I'm covered in glitter and sweat.
Yeah. Tell the people where they can find you. You know, whether it be social media, your website, all that good
of the
stuff.
above.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm driving around in a minivan. We call it the sleigh because we started sleigh all day. That's what we call it.
Very nice.
Nice.
We decorate about 50 homes and businesses in the next 5 weeks.
That's awesome.
So like today,
Hustling.
three installations today, and it's real. I am covered in glitter. You can see it.
Yes.
And it'll be that way for the next 4 or 5 weeks. And we go into people's homes and decorate their homes, and we do businesses, and it's a lot of fun. We have really cute elf names right now. The end of the season, the names go a little south. They have some extra words in them.
Okay.
I can see
Maybe.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but the sleigh gets real tired from December 15th.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's where I am. But then, you know, our new location is really, really, really cool.
Yeah, congratulations
Thank
on
you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It looks
you know,
great
we
from the
had
outside.
250 people show up at our open house, which is great. And I think we brought a new space to life, an old space, but
An old new space.
old new space. And I've had lots of people comment on how it's going to be a destination that people want to come to. You know, when people come in town, where do you send them to go see things? So.
And that's at 405 South K Street. And
It's
just
a funky little corner, but it suits us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you guys are interested in any wedding events, flowers, any of that good stuff, you can go to fioreofpensacola.com, spelled Fiore.
That's right. Means flower in Italian.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
very
nice.
Yeah.
That'd have been a great question to ask from the get-go.
That's alright. We got to it.
Yeah. Before we sign off, is there any last
just
remarks?
thank you guys for having me.
Yeah.
And
Of course.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you.
That's a wrap.
All right,
Thank you,
guys. Thank you.